So, who are actually the strongest pirates on the Straw Hat crew and in what order? Because with 3 Conquerors, a warlord of the sea, a genius scientist, the greatest doctor in the world, the devil of Ohara herself, and, well, also Usopp, it's kind of undeniable to say that the Straw Hat crew is one of the mightiest in the Grand Line. A Yonko crew. But as a One Piece fan, you also know that ranking them is surprisingly difficult because Wano, Egghead, and now Elbaph have just completely shattered everything that we thought we knew for a long time about the Straw Hats' internal hierarchy. Obviously, they aren't all equals. Look at Luffy, look at Usopp, right? Well, at least not in terms of power. They probably all still view each other as equals in other ways, but hey, it's shonen. We all care about some of that raw power output. So where do all the Straw Hats actually rank amongst their own crew? Today, I want to scale all of them against each other, giving my first personal definite order of who I think the strongest in the crew are in what order, with a brief overview of their current powers, and I'll actually go ahead and try to scale them against some of the other very iconic enemies and villains from their history to give you some perspective on just how far some of the crew have actually come at this point. And we're starting from the back with, in my personal opinion, the weakest Straw Hat, but also my favorite Straw Hat, Usopp. Now, while I do have some very controversial takes on this channel, as you know, and you'll probably also disagree with some of the nuances of the middle rankings of the Straw Hats, the lowest, I would say, is pretty cut and dry. As much as I love my god Usopp, the coolest and best written character of the Straw Hats, I think, I don't believe that there's really any way around putting him here. Right now, for me, he has to sit at the bottom of the barrel. But honestly, I think that's kind of okay because it means that he still has this chance at earning that coveted Most Improved award at some point in the story. I know it's kind of backhanded, but it's, like, honestly pretty valid, I think. And really, at no point has Oda ever written Usopp to be the strongest member of the crew or anywhere close to the top tiers. Fairly certain there's even a few moments on record where Oda makes the statement that he makes Usopp the weakest on purpose, because in contrast to many of the other crew members, every major victory that Usopp earns throughout the story comes from overcoming fear, not overpowering his opponents directly. And that's exactly what makes him work and what makes him such a great character. He's got observation haki somewhere in there, we know. He's got his assortment of pop greens, making him a very versatile sniper, able to manipulate the battlefield, being able to snipe from miles away, or just kind of drop a skeleton-shaped bomb on anyone and anything. He's done a lot during Elbaph already, between Lego walls and Emu themselves taunting them, Usopp slinging WMDs at the ops for sure. The problem, I think, is that we're now deep into the Final Saga at this point, and while nearly every other single Straw Hat, as we're about to see, has received some massive upgrades since Wano and even before, Usopp's slacking big time, big dog. Like, compared to someone like Zoro, who unlocked advanced Conqueror's Haki, Sanji awakening his Germa genes, and now also his Conqueror's Haki. Like, Usopp's ammo is really all that he's got, and it really hasn't changed much since the time skip. Now, as you of course know, I'm personally hoping that we finally will get to see him return to his roots with a giant hammer soon, a squirrel hammer, in the form of Ragnir, which also does make me a little bit concerned on the other end, because that would mean that something might happen to Loki if Usopp were to get this massive squirrel power as an upgrade. And obviously, Usopp is much stronger than some previous villains, and I do think that he would make some former baddies of the series look absolutely dumb at this point. You agree, right? Like, Arlong, sniped. Mr. 3, sniped. The Pacifista, I would say sniped. Gecko Moria, that's kind of where I draw the line. Probably not, but he'd still get some pretty good licks in, I think. Before he can square up with someone like Van Augur, for instance, I think that he's still gonna need to grow a lot more, that's for sure. And, you know, since Elbaph so far at least hasn't really been Usopp's arc, hopefully Oda does something for him soon. Which now brings me to second to last, Chopper. Now, this is already the spot in the crew where I personally think that things kind of have insane potential to be moved around depending on how you view certain characters. I don't think that anyone would be wrong to rank these next 4 entries like somewhat differently in different orders. I personally spent a lot of time with my team trying to work this out specifically. We had a lot of different opinions, and this is what we ultimately settled on. But if you disagree, I really want you to put your rankings below in the comments, especially for this middle section since it's so flexible. But personally, I settled on ranking Chopper right here, second from the bottom, because he's not forced to fight the same way as really anyone else in the crew is. Obviously, his Devil Fruit and his point system are insanely versatile and make him a pretty big threat, but he's still the youngest member of the crew, and his true purpose is support, not offense in any meaningful sense, I would say. Now, obviously, we need to talk about the big reindeer god monster horror thing in the room. The mighty monster point with the enhanced rumble balls is absolutely scary, but what kind of intrigues me the most, and the reason I can no longer confidently rank him this low, is because of the reveal that he hard counters Domi Reversi somehow. The true nature of Chopper's Hito no Mi, the human fruit, whatever it actually is, seems to somehow override the devil fruit power that Imu has. And with that specific ability in mind, Chopper is actually an absolutely respectable threat going into the Final Saga, and he might be forced with this ability to power up even more in order to protect the world. So I see a lot of potential for him, but as of right now, there are still so many crew members personally I think who just outrank him easily because of their sheer raw power output. Also, just to point it out, I just don't want you to get my thoughts twisted here. Absolutely, Chopper is really strong, right? Obviously, the best example is Queen during the raid on Onigashima. No, Chopper wasn't about to just defeat Queen in a straight-up slugfest. After all, he's not training his snails for that. He's training his snails for communication and medicine. But still, Queen, one of Kaido's Yonko commanders, was forced to acknowledge Chopper's real strength, and that kind of says a lot about how far he's come at this point in the story. Earlier in the series, that matchup would have probably lasted like 2.7 seconds or something, but in the Elbaph era, even Tony Chopper can go horns up and buy time against a literal Yonko commander if his captain needs him to, which is really insane to think about. Now, if we want to scale him here, I'd kind of say that he's absolutely capable of hanging with members of the Toby Roppo under the right circumstances, right? I might even be confident enough saying that he could fight someone like Gecko Moria, assuming that his fruit behaves similarly with the shadows as it does with the Domi Reversi. But until Oda truly explains this new mystery power that Chopper has, and if it's like a forest god fruit or something else freaky going on, I really feel like I can't comfortably rank him higher than Franky. Super! Wow. How do I say this? Super Cuddy Flam is low-key the most underrated member of the crew that kind of needs respect on his damn name. Big Dog here doesn't need Haki or a fancy devil fruit to be an absolute beast or a tank, like a literal tank. All he needs is the divine power of human engineering and some cola, I mean. He put a damn Triceratops in the ground. Remember that? Like, Wano treated Franky pretty well. Remember that Big Mom stuff too? And as we saw in chapter 1176, this wrestling engineer now is wielding the Super Vega Cola as an upgrade. Now, to be completely real with you, it's getting me pretty amped about Franky. The idea of this guy learning directly from Lilith or the weird clone OG Vegapunk. The Vegapunks are so weird, right? I don't know what's going on. Anyways, that's still in a box, all of that, waiting to be opened like an action figure. The potential that Franky has with them as their mentor, like, has me really excited. We could see a potentially unparalleled Franky Shogun, like, with all the mechs that were teased, like, at the beginning of Egghead and stuff like that, but, like, a Franky version. Or, I don't know, like, some new fancy Franky Titan mech. I can already feel my mouth is already watering just thinking about it. We are in Viking land. Where is Franky Jotun, right? So I'm just asking. Now, he's already throwing out straights and dexters against the MMAs and even the Gorosei, so imagine what it's gonna look like when he's like overclocked and running a 5090 Ti with like a Coca-Cola cooling or something. This man's gonna be absolutely unstoppable. But that being said, right now, he's not quite at his peak yet. They just teased this major upgrade for him, and I think it's kind of why I have him here and not any higher. But again, if you're a big Franky fan, I could totally see you being like, no, Manu, he must be way stronger than that. What I initially thought was a really wild take that doesn't seem that crazy anymore, honestly, because in just a few arcs, I honestly believe that Franky might already right now in the story be at that queen level. So also this weird desire to become a cyborg must maybe be like a bloodline element, because as far as I know, like queen wasn't exactly the best father to Franky. But here's the deal. I already, of course, know what you're gonna say, right? Especially when you see the next entry on this list. Franky, yes, is physically stronger than what's coming, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I do think there's a difference between just raw physical strength and, you know, power or strength as a whole. Versatility, mindset, ruthlessness, bloodlust, creativity, and potential, all of these factors really matter, which is why next up, above Franky, I have Nico Robin. And hey, I mean, I'll be the first to admit part of this might be bias, part of it might be sage-like wisdom matched by no other, but it's probably bias, honestly. Robin, I feel, deserves to be ranked this high in the list after we've seen her just run it up against Black Maria and then Summers pretty dominantly. But that being said, I also can't deny that Robin is probably the hardest Straw Hat in general to just rank, like, period, because her devil fruit doesn't really play really well by the rules. Robin's a rebel with a cause, and that cause is causing me a headache ranking her, because in some moments she just like levels a fleet of Marines all by herself, and then in some others she sprains her ankle in a labo phase or whatever and is out for like the entirety of Egghead's finale. Personally, I still, 2 arcs later, can't really get over the really sick reveal of this mysterious demon mode she has that's just like never explained and addressed at any point again. And in the next arc, she was just benched for being like too fragile, which sucks, honestly, because I kind of want to see her break backs like she does in her battles with Spandam and Black Maria, and I want to get that on Elbaph. To me, the reveal of Demonio Fleur completely shifted how I saw Robin in general and how I ranked her internally, like my headcanon, right? Because in one fell swoop, she one-shot one of the top Toby Robo's strongest members, a feat that none of the other crewmates really had. The vibe I kind of got from her was that once Robin just embraces darkness and anger, she goes really nutty. Her battle with Summers, the next level Naruto-style thinking and clones. Back in Wano, she's got the Dragon Claw principles and Fishman Karate-style blending, right? She's a freaking threat, dude, if like Oda lets her actually out to play. And then she also becomes a giant devil lady. And that power multiplies exponentially. Like if it weren't for her very clear stamina issues and homegirl is winded at the end of literally every single fight, I'd probably even go out of my way and put Robin even higher in this list. Or if she clearly was using armament Haki, as we think she might be with that demon form, but it's not confirmed, she'd also leap up for sure. Despite these shortcomings though, or I guess in the face of them, I still really think that Robin has firmly established herself as a legitimate New World powerhouse. When she's rocking Demonio Fleur, I could even say she rivals some of the warlords or the Revolutionary Army captains. But in my personal opinion, she's still not the strongest baddie on the crew. She's the baddest, don't get me wrong, but the honor of strongest definitely belongs to Nami. In the words of the late and great Gene Wilder, I'll be clear as crystal. If this list were based purely on single attack power output, Nami would honestly be actually several spots higher than I put her already at this point. But since we're looking at overall strength and power, this is about as high as I can comfortably put her, I think. And that's because more than anyone in the crew, hell, the series as a whole, Nami is, as you probably know, somewhat of a glass cannon. Now, if you don't know what that is, a glass cannon basically means that you sacrifice any like sword or pretense for defense, all in the sake of potential immense offensive damage. And in Nami's case, it's all thanks to the power of Zeus. This reformed cat burglar has always won through primarily strategy. In early One Piece, she manipulated the battlefield, tricked opponents into bad positions, and used the weaker model climb attack to create opening after opening after opening, trying to very slowly grind and beat down her opponents while dodging like her life depended on it, because it always did. And honestly, it still does. All of that basic defensive evasion stuff pretty much has stayed the same up to this point, but she really just needs 1, 2, 3 really good windows to wrap up most fights that she's in. Because at this point, Nami's of course randomly rocking the power of a Yonko in those Zeus attacks. And Zeus can of course fight alongside her, making fights a free 2-on-1 instead of a respectable 1v1, right? I think the method of jumping your enemy is a really solid strategy, so go off Nami, but here's the deal. At this point in the story, I personally would argue that I don't think she's quite ready to take down someone like, say, Katarina Devon just yet. I think she'll get there, but against these stronger officers beneath the Yonko commanders, she could absolutely unleash hell. I mean, we've seen it. Dropping ulti, rat. Destroying MMAs in Elbaph, beast mode. Nami's actual power is disgusting when she actually unleashes it. She just hasn't gotten the chance that often, like after acquiring Zeus. Nowadays, I would say that she could just mop the floor with her former captain Arlong easily. She could destroy Hody Jones. And Loki, I think that if we let her run it against most of ZP0, she could probably knock them out as well. She just might lose if they're fast enough. And well, oftentimes they are, right? This is a world of high-speed Haki users. Speed kind of seems to be king right now, and there's one king on the crew truly known for his unrivaled speed, Brook. Brook. Brook to me was a wild card for honestly like his entire time on the crew prior to Elbaph. Like, we always knew and realized he was actually a pretty nasty swordsman, but after seeing young Brook in Hesperia Kingdom in the flashback, we now know that he's actually just a complete freak on a leash with a sword. And obviously, he's on top of that the Soul King, also manipulating supernatural forces that mess with any living thing in Soul. And after seeing what he's capable of time and time again, being on a legendary run since Whole Cake Island, defeating hordes of enemies in a single strike, standing against Big Mom, confidently stepping to Gunk Mu, even if that doesn't turn out well, right? Brook is an absolute monster. I personally feel like we can say now with a lot of confidence. He deserves to be ranked this high, and I don't really think that that's a crazy wild take, but again, let me know if you think otherwise. But I also mean, like, just look at the true extent of Brook's abilities that we know of at this point. Thanks to the Revive fruit, or Underworld fruit, his soul can separate from his body, manipulating the forces of life and death itself, becoming nearly invulnerable, and to be absolutely real with you, his range is ridiculously gigantic. Now pair that with his incredible speed and soul-infused ice attacks, and the humming swordsman starts sounding like death itself. For whom the bell tolls? The answer, Brook's enemies. Now, when it comes to trying to show you where I think his power lies right now, it's a little bit difficult, because honestly, Brook kind of lacks that sort of key signature victory over one clear person that we can just benchmark straight out. But personally, I do think that he could probably slice down the likes of like a post-Egghead Kaku, and definitely clears that Ryuma hurdle that he was struggling with back during Thriller Bark. He's an incredibly powerful swordsman, just not quite Zoro level, because Zoro is insane, but still a threat to everyone below Brook's level on the crew. That kind of feels safe to say, right? He might be even stronger than that, honestly, but he's not stronger than Sanji. Wait, what? I hear you typing already? But Manu, Sanji, Conqueror, Devil Black Flame Gumbo Kick, Love Faster Than Light, and yes, I know. I'm aware, I'm as excited as you are, and you know exactly who is above Sanji already, and that's bothering you. But I kind of need to make a very clear statement here. I am ranking Sanji as he's during Egghead Island, and then what we see at the beginning of Elbaph, not the next arc, because Skopper Gaban stated that Sanji can, and better yet, needs to become a king to serve as Luffy's real left wing, which means that he's gonna be a Conqueror's Haki user, which is all but confirmed at this point, and that should definitely make him a top 3, if not top 2 crew member in terms of strength. But let me remind you though that he doesn't have Conqueror's Haki yet. He hasn't used it yet. He's not a Conqueror unless when you watch this video he's finally used it, which might be very soon, honestly. I mean, it would be really ridiculous if it happens in the chapter like that's out when this video comes out this week, but hey, it might happen, and then you know you're ahead of me. Either way though, he is a nearly invincible exoskeleton wielding Beyblade of fire and destruction, but not a Conqueror yet, and when Sanji finally does unlock his Conqueror's infusion, or however he uses it, he will undeniably jump up a spot on this list, but until then, he's not quite there, I personally feel. He's crazy fast, he's crazy strong, and the gap is very close between him and Jinbei, but for now, we do know that Sanji's peak, last we checked, was Queen. Like, he was not strong enough to deal with an admiral, even though he could actually interact with Kizaru, which is impressive by itself, I would say, but still, he can't handle a nearly invincible Lunarian, and he definitely can't simply kick through the top tiers of the verse at this point. But what about when we finally see his final evolution, right? When he's not only unlocked his full Conqueror status, but also can truly control it. Once that happens, easily I would say he's gonna beat someone like Katakuri, King, or maybe even like a Marco. All of these characters' powers are absolutely nuts and off the charts, but by that point, Sanji could override the fruit aspect completely and just square up and kick the living hell out of all of them. Until that happens though, I kinda need to go with my gut here, which, you know, again, controversial, I get it, and say that due to his durability, the next spot does belong to Jinbei. Now, I don't think I need to ask you to let me know what you think in the comments, but let me know anyways, because I'm sure that this might be the most divisible and controversial section of the list by far. But that being said, I don't know, man. Like, Jinbei is an absolute tank. A warlord of the sea, master of armament Haki, and the world's leading expert in fishman karate. While other Straw Hats have needed massive power-ups and Haki blooms to just keep pace with Luffy and the Final Saga, Jinbei arrived on the crew as a pretty wrapped and finished product. There's a reason why Oda waited almost 10 years to allow Jinbei to finally join the crew at the climax of Wano, when Luffy actually becomes a Yonko, for him to actually join the crew. Jinbei is the benchmark for what a powerhouse is in the Final Saga, hence him having the 3rd highest bounty on the crew. Now, while I do believe, as I said just a moment ago, that Sanji will probably clear him easily by the end of the series, he's not there quite yet. Let me be straight with you. Only 2 crew members are above Jinbei for a reason. His battle against Who's Who perfectly showcased why Jinbei is a true nightmare. Who's Who entered Wano carrying all the confidence of a former CP9 prodigy with an ancient zone devil fruit, but once Jinbei actually stopped, locked in, and unleashed his full body armor, Jinbei just dunked on that fool easily. And we do know that he's very confident in fighting the most difficult and strongest devil fruit users out there, the Logia fools, because he dueled Ace for 5 days straight in the past. So Jinbei is a literal psychopath when it comes to fighting, tanking cognac after cognac from Big Mom and stepping to Fleet Admiral Akainu, and he's also really good at drinking, it turns out. Better than Zoro. That's canon. Oda said that. Now, that doesn't really count for anything on this list, but still pretty rad, and I wanted to throw it out there. I do not think that it's so wild to say that Jinbei could hold his own for a very long while against a single admiral. Maybe not Kuzan specifically due to the nature of his fruit, which kind of doesn't have really good synergy with the Fishman Karate, but against Kizaru, Green Bull, or now, after having had more time to grow, even Akainu, I think that Jinbei could flow like water, like sting like a bee, and I kind of ran out of references there. He punches hard, and that's what matters. Just not harder than the steel sword strikes of Roronoa, the king of hell, Zoro. Now, even though I'm a YouTuber and our kind likes to manipulate a little bit to keep a video interesting till the end, but what can I say? The last 2 spots on this list have always been what they are, and there's no pretending like it's gonna be otherwise. The future world's strongest swordsman one of the supernovas alongside Luffy, the king of hell, and undeniably just the second strongest crew member on the crew, always has been, always will be, Zoro. If you try to say that he isn't, you are just wrong and deluding yourself, and you're probably like a crazy Sanji stan, which I get, but you know, let's keep things straight here. He has always been and always will be the number 2 in terms of power. Well, maybe not always will be, but that's a point for later on. A little bit of an Easter egg at the end. He is the second Conqueror confirmed on Luffy's crew, capable of slicing down mountains, men, mountain-sized men, and nearly invincible Lunarians, and everything in between. He's confidently crossing swords with the Gorosei, cutting down Luffy's former enemies like Lucci, and dicing up Holy Knights like the onions I use for dinner. He even makes me cry like the onions too, because, dude, he's just so cool, and he was my favorite character in One Piece for a very long time, until there was my man Rayleigh. Thanks to the recent addition of his Conqueror's infusion, Zoro is just leaps and bounds above most characters in the series already. With barely any control, he could slice Kaido, a feat that Luffy had been struggling with at this point. I'd be confident saying that with true mastery over his Conqueror's Haki, Zoro would be stronger than Rayleigh and Scopper in their primes, something we know that Oda thinks should happen anyways, because Oda's entire thing is that the next generation always surpasses the previous one, so we're gonna get there. Ashura Zoro doesn't play no games. He's already dominating the ocean without even mastering his Conqueror's Haki. Once he has, only the likes of Whitebeard, Rogers, Sebek, Shanks, and maybe Mihawk will actually surpass him. And then after, I don't know, like opening his eye and getting a Sharingan or getting like a new Black Blade or something, I think only his captain is truly gonna be able to exceed him. Well, actually that's not true, because maybe, just maybe, there are actually 2 other allies of the crew, all but confirmed future Straw Hats, that will stay stronger than Zoro for a while. Loki and Yamato. Now, I'm not gonna spend too much time on these 2, mostly because they aren't official crew members, and, you know, Oda can always come and, like, punch me in the gut again by saying that Yamato and Loki are not actually joining, but they are the characters that Sanji and Zoro need to surpass to become the undeniable wings of the Pirate King. But that won't be easy, because these 2 advanced Conqueror's Haki using mythical zone fruit wielding monsters are Luffy's real ace in the hole, because the ace that he had has a hole and now can't be his, you get it. Loki and Ragnar are capable of fighting Emu and, you know, with Luffy and on Luffy's level, and Yamato went toe-to-toe with their dad Kaido. Neither of them are exceeding their powers, but they sure as hell are up there at the pinnacle of the world. Zoro, I would argue, couldn't do either of these things, and at this point in Elbaph, still kind of can't. And that's why I would slot both of them right here. Stronger than Zoro, like 100%, there's no question to me. Stronger than, say, Shamrock? Honestly, maybe. At the very least, it would be a great fight to witness, right? I mean, Oda's kind of teased it with Shamrock kind of just asking Loki to come duel him. Confidently, I'd say that they both scale against the likes of Marco, the Gorosei, maybe even Mihawk. Is that nuts to say? Maybe kind of gut-wise it feels correct. Loki is literally bigger than an island, and I don't think that Mihawk could clear Kaido either easily. So yeah, Zoro definitely needs to still surpass these 2 if he really wants to be the world's greatest swordsman. They are truly only second in the crew to Monkey D. Luffy. My bouncy boy started off with a ridiculous dream, a rubber body, and enough confidence to challenge anyone standing between him and the title of Pirate King. Fast forward over about like 1,200 chapters, which we're gonna hit this year it seems, which is insane, and now he's dreaming of slaying God and liberating the planet. He's no longer chasing the strongest or challenging them, he just is one of them, undeniably. Luffy is the culmination of hurdles and accomplishments, the true shonen dream embodied. That's why he's the main character, right? Crocodile forced his brain to work in overdrive. Lucci taught Luffy what true resolve is. Katakuri showed him that the future is his to bend. And Kaido helped him awaken the power of the sun god Nika. All of these clashes have turned Luffy into a living weapon capable of unleashing rubbery destruction to entire islands casually. Gear 5 Luffy just fundamentally rewrites the rules of combat, and that is true peak power. Weaponizing his own imagination has made Luffy into a threat that the devil himself fears, and he's nowhere near done growing at this point. He believes that Gear 5 is his peak already, but I think it's just the beginning. By the end of Elbaph, Luffy's Haki, his Devil Fruit control, his battle IQ, it all should really begin to rival Red Hair Shanks and Roger himself, and Luffy is on the cusp of glory here. He just needs that one last little push to become the strongest character in the verse. But what will that power look like? Hell, what will all of the crew's last power-ups actually look like once we get into the Final Saga here and start fighting the big battles? Well, to find that out, you should check out this video right here where we talk about all those possibilities. No, here. I don't know. Like, I'll be back in my studio next week. It's been nice visiting my family, but yeah, I think we need to be in a real studio with like some good lighting. No idea. Patreons are somewhere, the video is somewhere, just check it out. I hope you have a great week. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one, and let me know if you enjoyed like a ranking or like more discussion video like this as well.